There is a question most people avoid because the answer can be uncomfortable. How can two people grow up in the same country, earn similar salaries for most of their lives, and end up in completely different places? One reaches their 50s exhausted, surrounded by payments, dependent on the next paycheck, and terrified that one job loss, medical bill, or major repair could bring everything down. The other person may not be a millionaire, but they have savings. They own assets. They carry less debt. They have time to think, and most importantly, they have choices. They can turn down a terrible job. They can survive an emergency. They can step away for a few months without watching their entire life collapse. The difference is not always intelligence. It is not always education. And it is definitely not always hard work. America is filled with intelligent, hard-working people who still feel trapped by money. The real difference is that one person learned the rules money follows. The other spent a lifetime playing the game without ever being taught how it works. And when you do not understand the rules of a game, every loss feels like bad luck. You work harder, but remain stuck. You earn more, but somehow owe more. You receive a raise, but the relief disappears within months. This video is not about becoming rich overnight. Forget that fantasy. It is about 11 money rules that separate people who slowly build freedom from people who spend their entire lives chasing the next bill. These are not 11 random tips. Each rule leads directly into the next. And when you finally see them working together, money stops feeling like chaos and starts looking like a system. The first rule begins at the exact moment most people believe they are finally winning. Lifestyle creep. Imagine that after years of working hard, you finally receive a promotion. Your paycheck becomes larger. For the first time in a long time, you feel relief. Maybe now you can breathe. But almost immediately, something begins to happen. The car that worked perfectly well suddenly feels too old. Your apartment begins to feel too small. The phone in your pocket no longer seems good enough. You start ordering more food, choosing more expensive places, adding subscriptions, and saying yes to purchases you previously avoided. None of these decisions seems dangerous by itself. You can afford the monthly payments. At least, that is what you tell yourself. But within a few months, the additional income is gone. The raise that was supposed to create freedom has become a larger car payment, higher rent, more subscriptions, and more expensive habits. You are earning more, but you are not keeping more. It is like running on a treadmill that becomes faster every time you increase your speed. You work harder, earn more, and still remain in the same place. Only now, you are more exhausted, and your obligations are larger. This is why some people earn 2, 3, or even 5 times more than they did years ago, and still live from paycheck to paycheck. Their income grew, but their lifestyle consumed every new dollar before it had the chance to build anything. A raise only makes you richer when your lifestyle does not rise just as quickly. The next time your income increases, do not immediately increase your spending. Increase the distance between what you earn and what you need to live. That distance has a name: freedom. The greater it becomes, the less control the outside world has over you. But creating distance is not enough. You must decide what happens to the money inside that distance. Pay yourself. First, look at the order in which your money disappears. Your paycheck arrives. Then the landlord gets paid. The credit card company gets paid. The phone provider gets paid. The streaming services get paid. The insurance company gets paid. The restaurants, delivery apps, stores, and banks all receive their share. And at the end of the month, you look at your account and hope something remains for you. For your emergency fund, for your investments, for your future. But usually, little or nothing remains. Think about what that order is really saying. Every company in your life comes before the person you will become 10 or 20 years from now. Your future is last in line. It receives leftovers. Paying yourself first simply changes the order. When your income arrives, a portion is separated before the rest of the world gets access to it. It does not need to be a large amount in the beginning. The amount matters less than the order. Because when you separate money first, saving stops being something you hope to do. It becomes something you have already done. The strongest version of this rule is automation. The money moves before you have time to negotiate with yourself. Because the person who waits until the end of the month must depend on discipline every single time. The person who automates the decision only needs discipline once. If your future is always paid last, your future will always receive leftovers. But before you decide what to save or invest, you must understand what every purchase is actually costing you. The second price. Every purchase has two prices. The first is obvious. It is the number on the screen, the price on the tag, the amount charged to your card. That is the price everyone sees. But there is another price that never appears on a receipt. It is the value that money could have created if you had used it differently. A more expensive car does not only cost the monthly payment, it also costs the years of investing you gave up to make that payment. A weekly delivery habit does not only cost the food, it may also cost part of the emergency fund that never had the chance to grow. A purchase made to impress people does not only cost money, it may cost flexibility, time, and future choices. This rule is not telling you to become afraid of spending. Money is also meant to be enjoyed. A life built entirely around deprivation is not financial freedom. It is simply another kind of prison. The point is to make conscious exchanges. Before making a purchase, ask, is what I want today worth more than what this money could become tomorrow? Sometimes the answer will be yes. You will spend the money, enjoy it, and feel no guilt. But sometimes, when you see the second price, the purchase suddenly looks very different. People who only see the price tag make decisions in the dark. People who see both prices begin choosing with their eyes open. And the second price becomes even more important when you meet the thief, quietly reducing the value of every dollar you keep. The silent tax. There is a thief that enters your life without opening a door. It does not take the cash from your wallet. It does not change the number inside your bank account. That is why most people barely notice it. But month after month and year after year, it takes a small piece of everything you have. That thief is inflation. Your money can remain exactly the same while its purchasing power becomes smaller. You see it at the grocery store. The same budget buys fewer items. You see it in rent, insurance, medical costs, utilities, and transportation. Your account balance may not have changed, but what that balance can do for you has changed. This creates an important distinction. Emergency money has a job. Its job is not to generate the highest possible return. Its job is to be available when life becomes unpredictable. But money intended for 10, 20, or 30 years from now has a different job. If it never grows, inflation slowly works against it. There is no truly neutral, long-term money. Over time, it either gains purchasing power or loses it. Staying still can feel safe. But when the world around you keeps moving, standing still means falling behind. And this is why the next rule may be the most valuable asset available to an ordinary person. Time is an asset. $100 today can be more valuable than $100 years from now, not only because prices change, but because today's money still has time. Think of money like a seed. A seed planted today has years to grow. The same seed kept in a drawer while you wait for the perfect moment remains only a seed. The size of the future tree is not determined only by the seed. It is determined by how long the seed has been in the ground. This is where many people lose without realizing they are losing. They wait until they earn more. They wait until they understand everything. They wait until the market feels safer. They wait until life becomes less complicated. But when you postpone a financial decision, you are not only postponing the use of money, you are giving away time. And time is the one financial resource no income can purchase after it is gone. Two people can eventually contribute similar amounts, but the person who started earlier gave their money something the other person can never fully replace. More years to work. Starting small is not embarrassing. Starting late because you were waiting to begin perfectly is far more expensive. But what exactly does the money do during all those years? That leads to the force that can build wealth quietly or destroy it just as efficiently. Compounding works both ways. Imagine that you invest money, and it earns a return. At first, the growth seems small. Then the return remains invested. Now your money begins earning a return on both the original amount and the previous growth. Later, the process repeats. The return begins producing more return. Money stops growing only through your contributions and begins growing through its own accumulated results. In the beginning, this process can look disappointing. You contribute, wait, and see almost nothing happen. That is why so many people stop early. They expect dramatic results during the stage when growth is naturally slow, but compounding rewards time more than excitement. The early years may feel almost invisible. The later years can look completely different. Now comes the uncomfortable part. The same force works perfectly in the opposite direction. Credit card balances compound, high-interest loans compound, fees can create more fees. Interest becomes part of the balance that produces even more interest. The investor sleeps while their money slowly works for them. The borrower with expensive debt can sleep and wake up owing more than before. Compounding does not care whether it is building your future or destroying it. It simply follows the direction you gave it. You cannot completely avoid this force. The real question is which side of it you are standing on, and that question becomes especially important whenever debt enters your life. Debt has a direction. Many people are taught one of two extreme ideas. Either all debt is terrible, or debt is a powerful tool that smart people should use. Both ideas are incomplete. Debt should be judged by its direction. After taking on this debt, is money more likely to move toward you or away from you? Debt used for consumption usually sends money away from you. A vehicle that is far more expensive than you need. A vacation that ends before the payments due. A balance created by clothing, electronics, and short-term pleasure. The enjoyment disappears. The payment remains. Productive debt is different in theory. It may finance education, equipment, or a business asset that increases earning capacity. But even here, you must be careful. Something is not productive simply because you call it an investment. Ask, what is the total cost? How reliable is the expected return? What happens if the plan fails? Can I still make the payments? What risks am I ignoring because I want the outcome to be true? Debt is not automatically a tool. Sometimes it is simply a future paycheck you have already spent. Before accepting any payment, loan, or financing agreement, ask, will this make me more capable and flexible? Or will it simply place a more comfortable chain around my future income? And whenever someone promises that debt, investing, or a secret opportunity will make you rich quickly, remember the next rule. Easy money is usually bait. There are three phrases that should immediately make you cautious. Guaranteed, fast, easy. In the real world, high returns and meaningful risk usually travel together. When someone promises a large return but insists there is no meaningful risk, the risk has not disappeared. It has probably been hidden from you. People lose years of savings because the offer was designed to look like the answer to their problems. Guaranteed monthly income, a secret trading system, an exclusive investment group, a business that supposedly requires no experience, no work, and no patience. The bait never looks dangerous. That is why it works. It looks like the opportunity you were hoping would finally allow you to skip the slow part. This rule is not telling you to fear every investment. Fear can be expensive too. The lesson is to avoid risks you do not understand, especially when the person explaining the opportunity benefits whether you succeed or fail. Real wealth building is often slow, repetitive, and boring. That is not a weakness. That is usually a sign that the process is based on discipline rather than fantasy. When something looks unusually easy, ask, what am I not seeing? Who is making money here? And what happens if the promise is wrong? People searching constantly for shortcuts often become the ideal customers of people selling dreams. The alternative is to focus your energy on the few actions that create most of the progress. The few moves that matter, not every financial action has the same impact. You can spend hours organizing receipts, changing categories, and adjusting spreadsheets while ignoring the credit card balance charging a high interest rate. You can save a few dollars on small purchases while keeping a car payment that consumes a large part of your income. You can work longer hours at low-value tasks while avoiding the skill that could increase your earning power. Being busy with money is not the same as making financial progress. Usually, a small number of actions create most of the result: eliminating expensive debt, automating regular contributions, negotiating one major recurring expense, developing a skill that increases your income, avoiding lifestyle inflation after a raise, taking advantage of useful employer benefits. These decisions are not always exciting, but they move the largest pieces. Ask yourself, which few actions would materially change my financial life over the next year? Do not use small optimization as a way to avoid large decisions. Effort without direction is only exhaustion wearing responsible clothing. Effort applied to the right point can look like luck to everyone watching from the outside, but finding the right points requires continuing to learn. Financial knowledge compounds. There is a dangerous belief that you can learn about money once and remain informed forever. The world does not stop changing because you stopped studying. Financial products change. Technology changes. Economic conditions change. Scams change. In fact, fraud often evolves faster than the average person's understanding. You do not need to become an economist or professional investor. You need to know enough to recognize when you do not understand something, enough to ask better questions, enough to read the important parts before signing, enough to recognize hidden fees, unrealistic promises, and conflicts of interest. Financial ignorance is never free. Eventually, someone sends you the bill. But financial knowledge also compounds. One useful idea improves one decision. That better decision repeated over several years changes your direction. Reading a little, listening to credible people, learning from someone else's mistake before making it yourself. These actions can feel insignificant in one afternoon, but over time, they separate people who direct their financial lives from people whose lives are directed by companies, lenders, and salespeople who understood the rules better. Still, knowledge creates no result until it becomes action. That brings us to the final rule. Start before you feel ready. This is the rule that determines whether the other 10 matter. You can understand everything in this video and still change nothing. That is what most people do. They agree. They feel motivated. They save the video. Then they wait. They wait until they earn more to begin saving. They wait until they understand everything before investing. They wait until the month becomes easier. They wait until the debt becomes smaller. They wait until life becomes calm. They wait for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment does not exist. It is often a polite name for procrastination. While you wait, time continues moving. The same time that makes compounding powerful begins working against you. An imperfect action taken today can be more valuable than a perfect plan that never begins. Separate a small amount before you feel prepared. Learn how one debt actually works. Automate one decision. Reduce one expensive balance. Study one financial concept every week. You do not need to master the entire game before taking your first step. You need to take the first step so the rules begin to make sense through experience. People who begin earlier make mistakes earlier. They learn earlier. They adjust earlier. And eventually they arrive earlier. People who wait until they feel completely ready often discover that getting ready was simply the name they gave to never beginning. If you made it this far, you may have noticed something important. None of these 11 rules is especially complicated. They don't require an advanced degree. They don't require extraordinary intelligence. And most of them don't require a high salary to understand. They seem obvious once someone explains them. That is what makes them uncomfortable. Because if the rules are simple, then many financial struggles were not caused by a lack of intelligence. They were caused by playing a game every day without being shown how its systems worked. But once you can see a rule, its result stops looking like destiny. It becomes something you can influence. Money was never personally against you. It was simply following patterns. The question is, who will direct those patterns from this point forward? If this video helped you see money differently, like the video and subscribe to the channel. And in the comments, write, "I understand the rules," not as an empty slogan, Use it as a commitment that you will choose one rule and apply it today. Because understanding the game can change how you think, but only action can change where you finish.